Welcome to Radiantly Rooted with Rachel. Today, I am sitting down with someone who brings so much heart and intention to midlife. Cheryl Dillon, a certified life coach, writer, and founder of Funderful Experiences. So, welcome, Cheryl. So glad to have you here.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Now, as a certified life coach and connection expert, Cheryl has spent more than 15 years helping people not just survive, but thrive through major life transitions. With a background in psychology, professional training from the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching, and certification in event planning from San Diego State University, she blends emotional insight with thoughtful design to craft experiences that are both uplifting and transformative. Her own midlife turning point inspired her work, and now she teaches women how to create lives that feel vibrant and true to who they are. I am so excited to chat with her today about becoming your own best friend in midlife and why that inner relationship shapes everything else. So, Cheryl, you have said that midlife wasn't a crisis for you, but a turning point. How did you know that you wanted something different for yourself?
That is a great question. And before, really wasn't one significant event. It's a whole bunch of things that were happening in a short time period. One of the things is I've been self employed for more than 20 years. My primary business is with my husband and partner. And we've been helping couples peacefully divorce without lawyers for more than 17 years. He's a divorce mediator, and I'm a divorce coach. I've been previously divorced, and it's strange to say it because Joe and I have been married for 20 years this year, but I do know what it's like to go through a significant life event such as a divorce. And I really have a passion for helping people avoid the ugly, adversarial, stressful, expensive process. So, working in the mediation practice has been very fulfilling for a lot of years, personally, of course, and professionally. But I'm sure you can appreciate a couple of things. First, mediation is a confidential process. So it's not like I'm going to go to lunch with my client and, be friends with them. After people are finished working with us with good reason, they don't want to ever talk to us again. It's a
That
painful chapter. They want to heal and move forward. And I completely get that. So it's a little bit lonely sometimes to not have the camaraderie, going out to lunch with colleagues or not to have clients who become friends that you can spend time with. So that started happening. At the same time, I went to go visit my mother who turned 80 last January. And it was the first time I had seen her in about 2 years. I just was very upset to see that she really was in her chair a lot, playing video games, watching a lot of television, not out and socializing, or her version of it is not the same as my version of it. And it really struck me about, your life and how much time you might have left and how you want to be spending it. And I just really got this very strong feeling that I don't want that for my life. And I need to start making some very deliberate changes right now to build the foundation for the future. So then that's kind of started happening. My father passed away when he was 58, and I'm 56. And so that's kind of in there too. Again, this really scared of mortality. And, in midlife, you kind of have an eye on that. And things in life, you change your priorities. And so all these things were happening at the same time. I moved to California from Chicago in 2018. And after settling into our home, the pandemic hit. And so again, I really didn't have an opportunity to go out in the community, make friends, have have a sense of connection, again, a sense of purpose, friends. I always wanted a group of wonderful girlfriends. And so for all these years, I really just feel like something big is missing. And that really culminated in my desire to go back to school for event planning because I was in a space where I was calm, I was thinking, very creative, and I decided I wanted to take all of my own life skills and blend them with all of my professional skills and my personal pursuits and turn it into something where it was a win all around. So where I could cultivate the community I wanted, where I could set the foundation for a meaningful and vibrant and happy midlife and beyond, where I could maybe distract myself from my age or what's on the other side, and instead really just stay positive and enjoy every day to the fullest. So that really was the impetus. Wasn't one big thing. It was a couple of things that were happening. They were just speaking to me, and then it just came to a place where I decided this is what I'm going to do.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. There's so many nuggets of wisdom that you shared in that segment about just a few things. Like, one, most of the women that I work with, most of the women that come to me, they tell me it was not just one big thing. It was a culmination of things that helped them to realize that, whoa, I need to make some changes in my life. And I could totally relate to your story about your mom because my own mom had her first stroke when she was only 49 years old. And
Wow.
she passed away a few years ago, but I'm 46. And so I have to be very mindful about how I'm taking care of myself and the boundaries that I'm setting. And so I could just really relate to how you see what somebody else has struggled with or is struggling with, and how that can be kind of give you the motivation that you need to be a little bit more mindful about how you're choosing to live your life.
Yeah.
So it sounds like all of these experiences kind of gave you the inspiration for creating your Wonderful experiences. Do you want to tell our listeners about that?
I was at the kitchen table with my husband and we were just scrolling. It was a Sunday. I think we were reading the 1440, which is like a non-politicized news feed. And I think some story came in there and it was talking about how people in midlife and older are looking for meaningful experiences. So not so much material items anymore, the things that are important when you're younger, growing your career, making more money, buying things, having status, that those things were falling away and that what people were looking for were meaningful experiences. So that term just kind of hung there for a minute, the meaningful experiences. And then I went into the dining room and I was doing a jigsaw puzzle because that is something that helps me relax and get out of my head and just, I love puzzles. And that was still in there. And I said, wonderful experiences. And so it was really, I just was sitting with the meaningful experiences, and that really connected with me also, enjoying these days. And it doesn't have to be giant travel or anything grandiose. It can be having meaningful experiences in the everyday. And so the name kind of stuck. So then once that was there, then it was like, okay, well, what's my company going to be? And I went through a couple of iterations. One was because I was in an events planning program. One idea I had was that I would plan meaningful, wonderful experiences for other people. So they would hire me and I would create some kind of experience for them and their friends or their guests. Then the next iteration was I'm going to take people on these trips and these meaningful experiences, and I'll be the host and plan it all out. But then, it's like you have an idea, you start kind of fleshing it out, and it's like, well, that's not really going to be, that's not everything I'm looking for. That's not going to really do it for me. And then I decided I want to create my own events and I want to meet with people in person. That's what I love. I love the energy of being in the same space with other people. For my whole life, I've been craving a big group of actual, like genuine female friends. Not the kind that are fake, not the kind that are cliquey or competitive, truly drama-free and really supportive. I've been lucky to find one here, one there, but never a group. And, I won't give up on that. I think it's possible if the space is right. And so I decided that's what I want to do. I'm going to create in-person experiences, a community where we all abide by certain rules, ways that we're going to treat each other in the space, ways that we're going to be, and that this is going to be the wonderful, supportive community that's with me for however much longer I'm here on the planet. And so again, it was an iteration. I used all my business skills. I talked to my partner, who's the finance guy. Can this work? Can this work? A lot of no's.
Uh-huh.
This one, the jury is still out. It's not going to replace paying the mortgage with the primary job, but it really is something that means a lot to me. And I really believe that I'm meant to be doing this at this time. I feel such a pull for it. When I think about it, I get so excited. When I talk to people about it, I'm so excited. Our first official gathering is tonight. And so we had a preview in October. We all met out for dinner in November, casual. Tonight's the first official gathering. I'm super excited. And it was, 8+ months in the making. Probably more than you were wanting to know, but hopefully some valuable information for your listeners where don't let go of these ideas. Just kind of let them percolate because they will evolve a whole bunch of times, but you'll land with something that is really connected to your heart. So,
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. There are a couple bits that you shared that I want to reflect on, if I may. One, I love that the inspiration for the name came to you while you were doing a puzzle because so many of us, we don't have those tools for stress relief or for when we get stuck in our head with all these cycles of ruminating thoughts. And for me, it's coloring. I love coloring books. And so I love that you shared that, when you gave yourself some time to unwind, to have fun, to take your mind off of things, inspiration hit. And so I think that that is just really fun way to come up with a Wonderful Experiences name. And something else that you shared really stuck with me. Well, a few things actually. One is that I was having a conversation with a woman the other day about how at this age, you're totally right. We don't need to strive anymore. We've achieved a certain level of success. I'm not interested in climbing the corporate ladder anymore. I'm interested in fulfillment, in things that bring me joy, in these meaningful experiences like what you're creating for people, and in the supportive feminine community that you talked about. I got goosebumps when you talked about that. And so I just want to thank you so much for sharing that story with us.
yeah, for sure. I think a lot of us, when you say ruminate, you just can't stop the narrative. It's nonstop in your brain. It's terrible. And it really it's consuming. It often is negative, and it's a lot of worries and a lot of fear, replaying things and worrying about things that haven't happened. And it just, I think a lot of us, it's just maybe our conditioning, how we grew up or what we're used to, but it's it's autopilot. And unless you can somehow take take a pause and get an awareness of it, that's really the only time that you can start to address it. If you don't have the awareness, you're just, again, going about your day. It's automatic. But if you have a break, for me, it's puzzles. It is gardening
Oh, yeah.
does it. Singing, for me, does it. It's these things that you love to do where you have no sense of time and you feel so relaxed and so in the flow of what you're doing. All the best ideas come. You're at peace. You feel happy, relaxed. It's just such a wonderful feeling. So I think that if everybody can incorporate more of that naturally into their day, again, it doesn't have to be a big grand thing. Be the puzzle for 10 minutes before you head up after breakfast, but just something that gives you the awareness and lets you kind of come back to yourself so that
Mhm.
you can feel more grounded and more you.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Awareness is that first step, and just it doesn't have to take long. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be meaningful to you.
Mhm.
So I wanted to ask you something, Cheryl. We've talked about community and connection, and you shared with me that you really help women learn to become their own best friend. And so that relationship that we have with ourselves is so important. So when you talk about becoming your own best friend, what does that mean in practice?
It means a lot of things.
Yes.
How very, yeah. Being your own best friend, first of all, it's how you talk to yourself. That ruminating,
Yeah.
we're in our head. It's our own critic, the inner critic. In coaching, there's all kinds of names for it. Some people call it the gremlin.
Yep.
Some people call it the inner critic. There's all kinds of names for it. In coaching school, I learned gremlin was the term that we were using. But it's your inner critic, and it's that voice inside your head that always tells you you're not something enough,
Mhm.
and it's fear-based. And if we treated our best friends the way we're treating ourselves, it's such a difference. So I think being a friend to yourself is taking a very deliberate look at how you speak to yourself, even the things you say out loud. Sometimes I'll talk to somebody and I'll say, "Oh, I'm so stupid." Oh, you don't want to say that. Again, these words carry a lot of energy, they carry a lot of weight. And so the thoughts you're thinking, the words you're speaking, they influence your emotions, how you feel. They influence the actions you take, the choices you make, the behaviors, which feed right back into the thoughts. So for me, being your own best friend is sort of like faking it until you make it, telling yourself, I love myself, which is so strange for people to even say. If I asked you to say that out loud, I love myself, it doesn't come naturally to many people. They don't feel that. It feels disingenuous, uncomfortable. They don't believe it. And so it's just starting to, again, have this awareness of the words that you're saying to yourself out loud and in your mind, and saying nicer things. Because if you start to cultivate that self-love, or at least self-compassion, and be gentle with yourself, you're going to immediately feel better. Your emotions are going to be different. You're not going to be feeling so angry or depressed or frustrated or guilt, filled with guilt or shame. It's going to bring your energy up. If your energy is up, you're going to take kinder actions. Maybe you'll eat better. Maybe you'll exercise. Maybe you will make choices in your life that are more aligned with being a friend to yourself instead of punishing yourself and keeping you in the loop.
Yes, that I love that. And it's like a drop in a pond, that ripple effect. One small action ripples out into other areas of your life. In
It sure
yoga, there's
does.
a concept called ahimsa, and it's often translated as nonviolence, but it's really more about compassion and action, active nonviolence, active non-harming, and meaning, are we being kind and compassionate not only to those around us, but are we taking that same compassion that we would share with the world around us and honoring ourselves with that same level of compassion? And to your point, it's all about building that mindful awareness around it, like noticing how we're talking to ourselves, noticing how we're talking about ourselves, and giving ourselves a little grace, giving ourselves a little compassion, treating ourselves like we would treat our best friend.
Definitely. And I think a lot of it too is reframing. So
Mhm.
again, the benefit of being a coach is I get to coach myself.
Yep.
And
I love it.
I do coach myself on
Same.
basically a minute by minute basis. I'll go through, so I have the tools, but
Mm.
it's kind of like the shoemaker's kids who don't have shoes. Sometimes you have all the tools, but you also have to follow them. It's easy for me to dish it out to other people, but to actually follow it myself. But that's something else I've been doing more consciously this past year, because I noticed one of the reasons I didn't have the group of wonderful female friends is because I wasn't being a good friend to myself. And so I feel your energy, what you're sending out is attracting right back to you. And so in making some of these conscious changes and speaking to myself more kindly and with more love and supporting myself more has brought my energy up, and it's attracted some pretty awesome friendships this year into my life. So, it works, but it's something you have to do all the time, changing the narrative. So sometimes, it's going to be uncomfortable when you first start to do it. It's not natural. It will be deliberate, and you won't always get it. You will say something mean to yourself, or you will think something that's maybe not so kind about yourself. It's okay if you can catch it and reframe it. And so something that I think is really powerful is to say, what's another way of looking at that?
Yep.
And that's one of the coaching tools. Okay, hold on. Stop sign.
Yes, yes, I love it.
No. What's another way of looking at that? And I'll come up with 2 or 3 other more empowering ways of looking at the same situation, and then I'll choose the one I'm going to believe. because in a lot of these situations, you never really know the real answer. So you get to choose which one is most empowering. And it, again, brings your energy up and it helps you feel better about whatever it is that you're worrying about. So I think that's a very powerful tool. What's another way of looking at that? And then to reframe what you just said into a more empowering thought or phrase.
Yes, exactly. It's about, um, I feel like the more you notice, the better you get at noticing. Like at first, you're like, you're so used to the way you talk to yourself that you don't even notice. And then as you get in the habit, like you said, stop. I love that visualization. Stop. But the more, like, it's without judgment, it's just being curious. But the more you notice, the more you start to notice, and the more opportunities you have to reframe. And that is so empowering. It is so powerful.
I think a lot of women also apologize,
Uh huh.
and it's natural. "Oh, I'm sorry," or "I'm so
Yes.
sorry, could I?" And why do you have to start with that? What are you
No.
sorry for? You know, just have your voice. You're important, your voice matters. Say what you wanna say. It's not, an imposition, right? You don't apologize. So, just catching these words, little things that you don't think are any big deal, but they kinda are. And I think some people, right, they put like a rubber band around their wrist and snap it
Yeah.
and when they catch themselves doing something. It's like that. If all you want to focus on is one little thing and having the awareness of it, you don't have to solve it all for yourself and then beat yourself up because you didn't do it. So that's another thing, about the compassion. Start with one thing. Wow, I apologize a lot, I noticed when I'm talking. That's what I'm going to be aware of right now. And that's the only thing I'm going to be focusing on. And as you're more aware of it and as you're changing it, like you said, you're getting better at not doing it. You don't have to put the stop sign. It's just more natural, becomes your new autopilot. Then you can move on and work on something else. So
Yeah.
it all adds up.
I love that. And that's a good example. That's something I had to work on myself very intentionally and mindfully is stop saying you're sorry all the time, stop apologizing all the time.
Yeah.
So I love how you tied together how this inner connection influences our outer connection, how this meaningful connection with ourselves helps us to create more meaningful connections with those around us. I wanted to ask you if there are any patterns that you see in midlife women when it comes to friendship and loneliness or this longing for a deeper connection.
I've noticed that there are some women who want that. They want connection. They want friendship. They want to belong. They want to have that community,
Hmm.
but their words don't match their actions. Or they'll go to book club and check the box. Okay, that's my social thing. That's my community. And when they're there, maybe they talk about the book or they talk about politics or sports or whatever, but they're not going deeper than the surface. They're not revealing anything of themselves. They're not authentically connecting with anybody else. So some people, they say they want it, they don't take the action. Other people feel like they have it. Oh, I don't need that. I have people in my life, or I volunteer, I go to the book club, I'm in a hiking group, I work. So they have people around them all day, and that for them indicates that they have this full, rich life, which that's debatable, right? Because you can have people around you and still be really lonely and
Yeah.
disconnected. Then there are other women who have spent many years caring for children, their spouse, working, carrying the majority of the responsibilities in the house, doing everything, not even giving a second thought to their own needs, not even considering getting out there and having socializing and connection because they're just so burnt out or they have no time or they, for whatever reason, are not conditioned to prioritize themselves. They think that that's selfish or they feel guilty or so there's all these reasons. They might not even be aware that they need or want this connection because they're just fried and they're not even in touch with themselves to recognize that. Um, and then there are other women at this stage that say, I'm aware, again, it's the awareness, I'm aware that that's how my life was. Now my children are grown or they're in college, or even if a lot of them boomerang back home, they're adults. These women might still be working, or they might be newly retired or getting ready to retire. They're still carrying everything, but for some reason, something has changed in the way they think about themselves. They have the awareness. They are desiring this connection, these meaningful experiences, deeper connections with people, more authentic sharing, not talking about the politics and the religion. Again, that's such a spiral, downward spiral. They want really to feel more fulfilled and to have more meaning in their lives. So there's women in all these, and then everything in between, where maybe somebody has awareness and they go and they get themselves involved and they go once or twice and then they're done and they're back to their old way. So to be fair to everybody and myself, I feel like the world is pretty heavy right now. The economy is pretty horrible. Politically, things are horrible. There's a lot of big, heavy stuff going on for all of us beyond our own families or our own circle, things that are heavy. And it's just this energy out there. So we have a lot going on. We're tired. We're running ragged. We have this noise coming at us from everywhere. To try to get the energy to even connect with yourself or to have this awareness or to take more positive steps, it's hard.
It is.
It's get yourself up and, motivated, and then to keep doing it. Because in order to cultivate this connection, you have to care and nurture these things. You can't just go once. And so I see women in all these different categories. I feel like I'm just fighting it so much. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to go anyway. I don't want this. I want something else. I want to be happy. But even for me, there's so many days I just want to stay inside, stay in my pajamas, not go out, not deal with anybody, even though the connection is what's most meaningful.
Yes, I'm totally with you there. I always feel better when I go out in community with supportive female friends.
Yeah.
But getting myself out of the house is a challenge. It's a constant struggle.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I don't remember it being quite this hard. I remember in my 30s, we had dinner parties all the time, every weekend. We were out, we had parties, we had rooms full of people just being silly, having fun. And for whatever is the reason, we still had responsibilities then. We still had a house. We still had to take care of our jobs and, other chores and things. But for some reason, I just feel like in the last couple of years, maybe since the pandemic, it's just become a little bit more of a challenge to feel light and to have the energy to go and do those things, even though, as you said, Rachel, and I agree, those are the very things that make life meaningful and give you the energy to deal with all the other crap,
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And having that support network to fall back on when things in the world or things in your own life are heavy, that is valuable beyond belief. And so being mindful to cultivate that support group, that connection, those networks, so that they're there and you're there for each other when you have need of it.
agreed. It's easy to get into a circle of people, and I don't know if you've noticed this in your own life. You're out at some social thing, somebody brings something up about a headline, and then that's the whole conversation, and everybody's jumping in, and it's so negative, and it's so draining, and it's so opposite of the event you're at. There's such a negative pull for that. And I think part of it comes from, maybe that person and we're in our heads, we're worried, we're afraid, things feel unsafe or unstable. So we have these worries. We're just so nervous. We're just saying them out loud. Everybody else who feels the same way is going to be magnetized to that. But then the next thing you know, you're making it worse. And it's not like you want to be around a group of people where you need support and everybody's piling on. And the next thing you know, you're all just complaining and everything's really negative and you feel worse than when you first arrived. It's the kind of support where you, first of all, can know your time limits. You're not going to monopolize the whole Maybe sometimes you need to vent, but you're not going to just dump, on the other person. It's an exchange. And also you're reframing. You're trying to make sense of it. You're trying to look at it a different way, or you're trying to compartmentalize it. Get the support. You have people that care about you. They'll listen if that's what you need. They'll offer input if that's what you need. But then you're going to ask them about themselves, or then you're going to move on and you're going to have some fun. And so I think it's really just about having people that you can rely on, but where that's not all you do together is complain and dump and vent.
Yes, I agree. That's such a good point. It's nice to have people who are there for all seasons of your life, but also being mindful to share the good and celebrate as well.
Mhm.
So, this is a perfect segue into my next question for you. For women who need a little bit of lifting up, for people who need a little bit of support, you write a beautiful newsletter, right? Called The Uplift. So, for women who want to join, what could they expect to receive each week?
So this year I've decided all the things that I'm most afraid of, I'm just gonna do them anyway. And
I love that.
but this has been a really transformational year. And I just feel like if not now, then when? I'm just
Yep.
gonna, why am I letting these things hold me back? I'm gonna just keep going anyway. And every day is not a big, celebration, but I'm coaching myself. So the Uplift is a newsletter that I write once a week. It's free, comes out every Thursday morning. I write about a topic, mostly something from my own life that many other people also can relate to in their own way. I share probably a little more than other people might be sharing in a newsletter, but this is me being vulnerable and letting everybody know I'm just like you. We all have these things that we're dealing with. We all have these challenges or these life experiences that have been difficult. And so I'll take a topic, like a coaching type of concept. I'll say it in English. I'll relate it to a story from my own life to illustrate it. And then I'll talk about what I did or what I'm doing to address it. And then I give the reader some prompts for them to reflect and think about how this might apply in their own life. And then I give them a try it. And so it's a short little, okay, this week, here's your challenge. And it's something to do to deal with and overcome whatever was that challenge. So it's like mini coaching, but it's digestible. It's in English. I try not to use too many coachy words, but I speak in a way that I think is understandable. And it's really just meant to help people know that they're not alone and that we're all dealing with things. And there are some ways, some tools of how to deal with it. And I'm sharing what these tools are.
I love that. That sounds so valuable. And I'll be sure to include the link in the show notes down below for anybody who wants to sign up for the Uplift. Now, is that the best place for women to stay connected with your work?
If the listeners are in coastal North County, San Diego, they can go on my website and learn more about Connected Hearts, which is my membership community. That's the in-person monthly gatherings that we talked about a little while ago. If the listeners are not in that geographical area, the Uplift is the best way to stay connected. And I know you have the link. And also my website, there's a big button, Get the Uplift, in the main menu. And it's easy to sign up. It's free. And you'll get a dose of encouragement every Thursday morning.
I love that. I love that. And I'll be sure to include the link to your website in the show notes as well. So, Cheryl, before we wrap things up today, is there anything on your heart that you want to leave our listeners with today?
Something I've been really thinking a lot about, and it's similar to what I just said about having these fears. I think a lot of us, for whatever reason in life, when we were young, through our conditioning from our family of origin or our teachers or, the media, whatever happened, experiences that we put a meaning on that maybe weren't positive. We have all these things that we've done where we're dimming our light and we're afraid, embarrassed. We don't like aspects of ourselves, or we think we're too much, or we think that we're not worthy. Whatever it is we're doing, it's a lot of fear-based. And we're just keeping ourselves small to avoid rejection or being disappointed or being hurt. And it's all normal, but it's really preventing us from having that meaningful connection. And it's really preventing us from being happy and fulfilled. All the things that we're so afraid of are our biggest gifts that we're keeping hidden from everybody. And I feel like if anybody can resonate with this, this is the time to really start questioning, what are those beliefs that are keeping you small? And how can you start to have an awareness of them and work on them so that you can be your big full self and let your light fully shine and really just step into being you, the real you? Because when you're aligned with who you really are and you're comfortable in your own skin, that's where the happiness comes from. It's nothing on the outside. It's just really all on the inside.
And I don't think I could come up with a better way to wrap up a Radiantly Rooted episode than by talking about that connection to ourselves. So thank you so much, Cheryl Dillon. And I hope that all of our listeners will go check out your website and subscribe to the Uplift. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thanks for listening to Radiantly Rooted with Rachel. If this episode brought you a little more clarity, grounding, or inspiration, I'd love it if you shared it with a friend or left a quick review. It really helps more women find this space and feel supported on their own path. And if you are craving more soulful support, head on over to rachelhupp.com to join my email list. That's where I send free resources, gentle guidance, and invitations to go deeper. Until next time, trust yourself and root in to what matters. Because the life you want, it starts by coming back home to you.